I will be presenting the Frayer model developed by Dorothy Frayer and her colleagues in 1969 at the University of Wisconsin. The rationale behind the Frayer model begins with the fact that Frayer believed that if students learn words in an extensive and relational manner, it is likely to help eliminate misconceptions. Research shows that activating prior knowledge can be beneficial to student learning, according to Costens and Worth. The prior knowledge serves as a framework for establishing the connection between the knowledge they possess and the new information provided. So if the Frayer model is used to activate prior knowledge, it can be very beneficial. Another rationale the Frayer model is used for is to teach new concepts explicitly. According to Marzano, Pickering, and Pollock, direct vocabulary instruction enhances achievement. The Frayer model is also used with difficult vocabulary. According to Greenwood, it was developed to analyze and test attainment of those new concepts or difficult concepts being taught. There are two versions of the Frayer model that are utilized by teachers. The model on the left is used to begin when introducing the model to students, especially those younger students. The model on the right is used when extending a concept. The Frayer model has multiple uses used by teachers. One way that the Frayer model can be used is to pre-assess a topic. You can use it to pre-assess a topic before planning your unit. This can tell you, what do students already know about what you're getting ready to teach? What prior knowledge do they have? You can then use this when planning your lessons, forming groups, and differentiating for those students who may need more or those students who need to be challenged. Another way that teachers use the Frayer model is when introducing or teaching a topic explicitly. You can use this to eliminate possible misconceptions that students may already have about the concept. Another way teachers use the Frayer model is to go back and revisit a previously completed Frayer model after a unit has been taught as a means of assessment. They can revisit by refining their Frayer model, adding to the Frayer model after the unit. So, how do you use the Frayer model? You'll first want to begin by introducing what the Frayer model is, showing what it looks like, explaining the attributes, and modeling examples. The attributes of the Frayer model, in the top left corner, you'll have the students write a definition in their own words. You'll want to explain to the students that you can't use the word that you're defining within the definition. In the top right, you'll use a bulleted list or a sentence telling the characteristics of the word. In the bottom left, there's a place for examples. This is where the student can connect to their own life. So they may have an example from their own life or just an example that they've seen in the world. In the bottom right, they'll put non-examples. So having a good, firm definition and characteristics can help them come up with their own examples and non-examples, as you'll see in the next slide with the example I will model. So within this example, the word polygon has been chosen. As you can see, the definition was given in the top left as a mathematical shape that is a closed plane figure bounded by 3 or more line segments. The characteristics they chose to put in a bulleted list: closed plane figure, more than 2 straight sides, 2-dimensional, and made of line segments. The examples that follow these characteristics and this definition would be a pentagon, a hexagon, a square, a trapezoid, and a rhombus. The non-examples would be a circle, a cone, an arrow, and a cylinder. So if you were using this to first start the Frayer model with students, you would want to choose a class who has a strong background in geometry, polygons in particular. You would show the students the example, explain and talk about the attributes extensively, talking about what makes the definition, what makes the characteristics, how to come up with your examples, and how to come up with your non-examples. So with this example, you would want to show why a pentagon is an example, and then on the flip, why is a circle not an example, or why is it a non-example? Another lesson would be then, after you've modeled how to use the Frayer model, you would want to assign words to students, depending on whether, if they're comfortable, they can work alone, or you may want to partner them up. It would also depend on how many times you've modeled the Frayer model. My suggestion would be to model the Frayer model with students several times. First, you doing it, just the students watching you. Then take a we do it approach, where you take student responses and have them help you fill it out. Then have the students do it themselves. One suggestion I would have for you would be you could use posters to hang in the room. That way you can use those throughout the unit. Students can reference them, and you can also add to them as the unit continues. Or students could keep an individual Frayer model page in their folder that they can revisit as the unit progresses. Another version of the Frayer model is the one shown on the right. This is where you list essential characteristics, non-essential characteristics, examples of the word, and again, non-examples of the word. So when using this model, it's recommended to use as an extension to a previously completed Frayer model on the word, being that the essential characteristics and non-essential characteristics may be harder for students to come up with. You would want to start again by modeling, teaching the students what the attributes are, then assigning them with their own word to complete with this version. Here you have an example of the same concept previously discussed, a polygon, but using the second version of the Frayer model. This model helps to alleviate misconceptions that students may have. For example, if you look at the non-essential characteristics, these will vary depending on the discipline that you're using the Frayer model for. But in this sample, students may think that a polygon has to have a certain number of sides, which in fact is not true. So it is not essential for a polygon to have a specific number of sides. It may take a while for the students to catch on to what essential and non-essential means. You'll want to make sure to model that and continue explaining what essential is and what non-essential is. Essential being characteristics that the word has to have without exception. Non-essential means it doesn't have to have that characteristic. Here you can see that the non-examples of a polygon being a circle and a half circle. A misconception that a student might have about a polygon is that it doesn't have to have all sides straight. So if they see that a half circle has one straight side and the other side of it curved, they might not think that that would be a non-example. Seeing it laid out in this model helps them to make these determinations. I chose another example, a science example, to show that the Frayer model can be used in any discipline area. It could be used to show vocabulary words within a text. This sample shows birds as the vocabulary term. I want to point out that the non-essential characteristic here is that birds have the ability to fly. Younger students may not know that. That could be a misconception that all birds fly. And also, they might think that since a bat flies, that it's a bird, when in fact it's a mammal. Here you see a student work sample that I used during a reading lesson showing the meaning of the word straying. Here the student has a great understanding of what the word means and what it doesn't mean. I want to direct your attention to the non-example, being that a non-example of straying would be being with the people you love. Here you can see a student work sample that was used to eliminate a misconception. Here the student put that the facts or characteristics about straying would be when an animal is wandering around. While the term straying is often used with animals, dogs in particular, like a stray dog, it's important to show students that straying can be any person or animal straying away from where it belongs. It's important to prove to your students that the facts and characteristics of the vocabulary word have to be true all the time. And this is a good example to show where this student had the misconception that it was just an animal. Thank you, and good luck with your teaching of the Frayer model.